Amigos, amigas, hi everyone. Thank you so much for your participation today, this beautiful afternoon, and also for your interest in the history of pre-Hispanic Peru, and also, in the history of Peru in general. Also, thank you so much for giving me some minutes of your day, of your precious time, to share the history of my country, the history of my city. It really means a lot to me, of course, having your presence this afternoon in Lima. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City guide, a proud official tour guide, a proud Peruvian that, as part of her passion, telling the history of Peru, is also using this wonderful platform to spread knowledge about Peru in general. And in this series, we are going to talk and discuss about the history of Peru before the times of the conquest. Marilyn, gracias. Thank you so much. Well, your words mean a lot to me. And I hope that this series that I'm creating for you from home are going to be very useful to understand Latin America and also this corner of the world, Peru, a little bit better. No? So I came earlier because I'm very excited to talk about this theme. In particular, you can imagine why. As a woman, I am very interested in the history of the development of my gender in the world, and in particular here in Peru. This is also one of the reasons why I created this particular series, and I wanted to start with this theme in particular. Also, I am a mother of 3 girls. I've been blessed with 3 princesses. So it's to me very important to first understand our position, our value, our history as women, and also to transmit this to them, to feel proud of who they are, right? So we're going to continue in a little while with the story. Adrian, hello, Bolivar. We be in. Well, very provoking. Oh, yes, that's right, Adrian. We had a talk, by the way, a couple of days ago, nights ago, about Bolivar, right? And this very famous character of the history of South America and the independences of Latin America in general, and very provoking conversation, right, Adrian? Because we were actually focusing in the let's say evil side of Bolivar, of Simon Bolivar in Peru, right? So I'm so happy you still remember that, Adrian. And well, at some point, of course, we're going to eventually go back to these themes and refresh them. But there's so much to be talked about, about the history of Peru, about the colonial times, pre-Hispanic times, the untold history, the controversial events. So please also feel free of commenting at the end of this event of the future themes you would like me to talk about. Right? Yes, Marilyn, of course, and I know the women character, female character in the world usually is the more underseen, or it's not really the one that receives the spotlight. So that's why I want to start this series with us, with women, our importance in the pre-Hispanic times. And I am also in a little short while to share some images that will give you also better understanding of who women were in the pre-Hispanic times. Were they important? Were they submitted under the control of men? Did we have patriarchies only? So we're going to discover all of this. Love yourself. Oh, yes, that's right. Look at this. Lots of sun in Lima. So really good way to start with this event with the sun shining, some plants. I love plants, as you can see. Some nature surrounding us. And well, it is also always important to get your questions during these events. So if you have any question, don't be shy, please. I am not a historian, by the way, just to clarify. I love history. Probably I would have been a very happy historian. Now I'm little by little understanding that that's also one of my passions. But I am a tour guide, an official tour guide, formed as a tour guide. So that's why I love sharing this knowledge and the history with you all. And I do it on in-person tours, and also I do them in these virtual events. So, well, I hope you are ready to start with this fascinating story, which I'm sure is going to have a part 2. So if you are up to a part 2, at some point I'm going to let you know if you would like a little bit more of information in another event, because we have to cover a lot more. So let's start with this event. Thank you so much for your participation, for coming on time, especially. And now we are, yes, Marilyn, we haven't started yet, but we know that there will be needed a part 2, of course, for this event to be completed. So my name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima city guide. I do tours in Lima about historical places and museums. I do walking tours. I do cooking classes. And also I am started to do tours from home that are dedicated to the history of Peru. And I have segmented these tours in different series. So in this series in particular, we're going to talk about the Pre Hispanic times in Peru. And we're going to focus in the characters that were part of the Pre-Hispanic period. In today's event, we're going to talk about women, the role in the Pre-Hispanic times. So let's start, my friends. So this is the name of today's event. We're going to talk about women in Pre-Hispanic times in the Pre-Hispanic Peru. And we're going also to travel through different phases of the development of Peru since the archaic times until, let's say, a more advanced cultural period of the history of Peru, always before the coming of the conquistadors. So the idea of this event is also give you clues about, to understand about the religion of the pre-Hispanic people in Peru and the importance of women. Were women submitted to men? Were women always below men? Were in Peru only existing patriarchies? Or we had also matriarchies in Peru? Archaeology will let us know and understand in detail about these interesting cultural developments. And we have to start, of course, in the pre-Hispanic periods, that the oldest ones. We have to talk about the archaic times in Peru and the connection of women with the agriculture. So we know, just to make it very simple, that first of all, men arrived to America approximately 40,000 years ago, and arrived also to South America and to the Peruvian territory. Hi, Penny. Hello. To the Peruvian territory about 16,000 years ago, approximately. So when men arrived here, they were hunters-gatherers, of course. They knew the fire, right? So there was already development in the men and the women that arrived to South America. But once they were here, they found a really, let's say, interesting and complex environment. And due to the complexity of the environment around them, they started also to settle in certain locations. We know that women is the one that discover the agriculture. And how is that possible? How women are the ones connected with the agriculture and the domestication of plants? Well, men traditionally, and we know this very well from archaeologists, was the one focused in let's say hunting, although there are some evidences of some hunter women, but most of the time was men the one that hunted, because women had to stay in the caves taking care of children, right? So because of their location in one particular place for prolonged periods of time, women were able to observe plants around her, right? They were able to, because they were stable in one location usually, see how plants grow, in which periods the plants grow, and they were able to get in contact with these plants. So we attribute the discovery of the agriculture to women. Also, something important is that women are connected, usually in the pre-Hispanic beliefs, the religious ideas of the Incas and pre-Incas, with fertility, with the underworld, the world of the darkness, the world of the where the potatoes grow, right? The world of the plants, because they are the ones that cultivated originally them. So, and men is the opposite, right? If women is the underworld, men is the upper world, the dryness, the sun, right? The mountains, the hills, right? So, the role of women in Peru and in the Americas also can be traced back thanks to the archaeological investigations. For example, we have in Peru one of the oldest civilizations of the world and the oldest civilization of the Americas. We are very proud to say that Caral, a civilization that emerged 5,000 years ago, was also a pre-ceramic civilization. It was believed that ceramics were equivalent to societies, and now we know it is not true. This culture existed before the emerging of the ceramics. So in this archaeological site located not far away from Lima, approximately 3 hours away from the city of Lima northwards, the archaeologist Ruth Shady had, since the 1980s until even nowadays, she continues investigating, she had discovered a society, a civilization that constructed pyramids, right? And this society also, which was very spread over in a territory that is connected with the ocean. So these people lived between a valley close to the mountains and the ocean, right? They depended on the sea, and they depended also of the products from the hillsides. This culture was very well developed, reach out high knowledge in terms of architecture, and also they discover in different parts of the archaeological site of Caral figurines like the ones you can see here, in which we can know how men and women dressed up, which one was their fashion, how they arrange even their hairs. These figurines were made from clay, but dry clay, sun-baked, or maybe sort of like cooked next to bonfires, like not really like a proper ceramic piece. So they were all painted, as you can see, and even we can see the style, the hairstyle of these women. I'm going also to move a little bit down the camera so you can see some of the writings I made for you. So we know that women also acquire a very important position in Caral, although unfortunately Caral does not have a zone of burials, like a public burial section. Very close to the temples of Caral were discovered some tombs. But of course, these tombs were of high elite people. They were not tombs of commoneers. And here we have a very special tomb that is called the Lady of the Four Tupus. So what is a tupu? Tupu are these elements that you can see over here, these like pins, which were in that time of the Caral people given only to be used by very important persons of high hierarchy. So you can see here the burial in the style of the Caral people, right? This is a coastal culture. We can tell that, of course, this culture try to, let's say, give to the burials or to the people that were being buried a shape of a bundle, like a fetal position, sort of like a fetal position form. You can see also that the ladies of the Caral culture and also women of the high hierarchy were covered with fabrics, cotton, because they also got access to use cotton, right? They use also beautiful clothes made of cotton. And you can see also these gores over here. So remember, this is pre-ceramic times. So instead of ceramics, plates of ceramics, for example, they use gores, right? So this lady, probably 40 years old age, was a very important leader of her days, right? So as I was saying, we can tell from these first evidences that women in the pre-ceramic times, in the the earliest period of the development of societies in Peru, were also some of them leaders that were in the same high level, socially talking, with men, right? So next we have another more advanced stage of the development of women in the societies of Peru. And we have also something really fascinating that is happening about 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years before Christian era. We have defining the discovery of a woman with deformed skull, right? So we have skull deformations that originally were associated first to men. Only men had this. This was the traditional belief of archaeologists, that men were the one that had deformed skulls. Skulls that were deformed when these people were children, were babies. Actually, you cannot deform a skull if someone is older than, let's say, 1 year old. You have to start very, very early in the life of a person, because that's the point when the skull is soft, right? And the skull deformations are associated with high status since birth, right? So this lady, called Lady of Pacopampa, which was discovered also in an archaeological site located in the north of Peru in Cajamarca, also the town of my ancestors. She was discovered in a tomb. Also, look at the position, once again, sort of like a fetal position on one side, reclined on one side. We have also very, very important elements, like, for example, these earrings that are huge, which here you can see how they look on this woman. And also, the finding showed that the woman, this woman, had the skull or the head painted with different colors. Could be even the red from cinnabar, also some other soil types that gave a pigmentation to the. At least we know that to the death or to the remain of the woman. We don't know if when she was alive she had also these colors, but when she died she was decorated in this way, right? But the deformation of the skull is really fascinating. So this woman, as here you can see in the bottom part, was about 1 meter 55 centimeters, which was considered tall, a tall, not just woman, a tall person for that time, because the average height for the men of that time was 1 meter 50 centimeters, right? So really fascinating seeing that women also were able to escalate like socially to the level that inheriting at this point in the history of Peru a status from their relatives, right? And here also we have a stela that is also called the Stela of the Lady of Pacopampa, which was discovered also in the area where she was buried. And we know from this stela that indicates also a female character. Caroline, thank you so much for your tip support, my friend. Muchas, muchas gracias. So you can see here a stela, which, by the way, you can see it in the Museum Larco in Lima. It is located in Larco Museum. The representation of a female entity could be the very Lady of Pacopampa represented in a form that shows that people consider this person a goddess, right? A demigod also. It's really hard to know in particular how they saw these leaders, but indeed these leaders had magical attributes around them. Look at the element that is here next to the mouth of the Lady of Pacopampa, and this stela. We can see first of all that she has fangs of a puma, right? Like teeth, very sharp, and there is a element coming out from the mouth. This could represent vomiting or a tongue. In both cases, the archaeological explanation, thank you, Linda, thanks for your tip support, my friend. So the explanation of the archaeologist mentions that if it's a vomit, it could be related with the intake of hallucinogenical plants. So women were able even to access to drink hallucinogenical plants, which also gave them control of the world that is unknown by the common people, right? The world you can only access if you're a shaman, for example, right? So, or it could be a tongue, and that also can be still related with the hallucinogenical trips, and sort of like screaming or laughing or just showing the tongue. So during the trances that this person passed during the hallucination. But the most important element that indicates us that is a she and not a he is here. This section is where the genitalia is located. This is a vulva dentata. This is a vagina with teeth, which has been founded in different parts of the world, in different traditions, right? Which this element is associated with the female forces of nature that are giver of life, but also can be destructive at the same time. They can give you life and they can destroy life as well. So the vagina dentata. We have also another role, another we call faceta, another situation of women in the pre-Hispanic times. Thank you, Ofe. Thank you, my friend. Gracias for your tip support. So we have here the priestess, the sacerdotisa. That's the way in Spanish we call priestesses. So we can see also that as cultures start evolving, also some women that are trained since very young or chosen since very young to receive powers, divine powers, right? Are also buried in fastest ways when they passed away and they go to the afterlife. And this we know thanks to also archaeological findings in different temples. For example, this vessel you see here, which some information about it is located here, this vessel shows what archaeologists have come to the conclusion that are these priestesses that are around the vessel, and that also hold cups. These are cups, right? You can see over here. Sorry for this. So you can see cups that are being held by them. And they are also holding elements that look like warrior elements, like shields, and sticks. So also women could be warriors as well. And women could be dressed up in a more masculine way also, according to the ceremonies they carried. Also notice this element over here. These are waves, right? And the waves are associated with the underworld, with the world of the ocean, with the world of the darkness. The darkness is also associated with the wombs of the mothers, and there in darkness is where babies are created. There are also male forces, underground male forces. It's not just that women were only down and men up. No, it was not that simple. But there was a big difference between the male forces and female forces associated with the underworld. The male forces were usually forces that could be destroyed. For example, we have Pacopampa. Pacopampa is the god of the earthquakes, right? Can be destructive. But the under forces that are female are usually productive. They are usually givers of life, right? We have the one, the goddess that, for example, is associated with the ocean, the Mama Cocha. Pachamama is mother soiled underground where the products grow, right? Also, we have Urpiwachak, which is the goddess that is associated with the fishes and the ocean, the seabirds, right? So, and the priestesses were the ones who could connect easily with those goddesses because they understood them better than men. So here we have a burial from San Jose De Modo. You can also check more information about this archaeological site, which was very special because 7 priestesses were discovered in a series of tombs displayed around the archaeological site. I just chosen one of them, of these burials, and notice the huge amount of vessels around here, right? Of course, that if we try to check on how many tombs of men versus how many tombs of women were discovered, big, important tombs, right, were discovered by archaeologists, of course, there would be more male let's say, tombs. But it doesn't mean there were not, like, any female leaders, right? They weren't in the fetal position. Penny, excellent observation. Although initially in the pre-ceramic times and also in the early developments of Peru, most of the tombs we were able to see through the archaeological investigations were of people in a fetal embryonary position, sort of like looking downwards, but always fetal embryonary position. Later, in the time of the more or less 2,000 years ago, beginnings of Christian era, the north of Peru and the south of Peru start to have a very big distinction. The north of Peru, we have extended position of burials, and the south of Peru, we have fetal embryonary position. Right? So, but as you can see, of course, big differences, cultural differences, even religions and traditions, very different between North and South, right? Also, these women were not buried in boxes of wood. They were buried with metals, like sort of metallic boxes, that were also covered with some wooden pieces that eventually, were damaged by the passing of the time, but mainly metallic pieces around them, and lots of vessels. This is the way how possibly they look like when they were alive, right? We have also the goddesses, and now we are going into a more like bigger level, right? Because these goddesses also at some point they existed. They were not creation, invention of the people. They existed. They were in front of them, but these women reach out the level of gods, right? And here we have a scene of a vessel that is located in Larco Museum. This vessel that is called the Sacrificial Vessel is the most important piece, I would say, of the collection of ceramics of Larco Museum. And in here you can see the display of the image that is in the vessel. The vessels of the pre-Hispanic times are like three-dimensional sculptures, right? And here you can see, for example, the upper part of the scene, we have different gods, and the lower part of the scene, first I'm going to point out and then I'm going to let you take pictures. I'm so sorry for interrupting a little bit, just for a while. So you can see in the lower section, as the name of the vessel is the Sacrificial Vessel, we have two men that are bleeding profusely because they are cut. As you can see, they were cut, right? But these priests that are holding plates in their hands, and these plates are receiving the blood that is coming from the mouth of these prisoners, right? So this is the part of the sacrifice of the prisoners, right? This was not a product of wars, because usually war we think it as a way of defense, right? Someone is attacking us, so we are going to kill the enemy. No, this was ceremonial fights in which sometimes people had to die. They were chosen to die, and it was a big honor for them to die as well. Hi, Debra. Thanks for coming, my friend. Muchas gracias. So here you can see in these plates, the recollection of the blood. And these plates will go now up to this elevated zone, which probably some specialists believe it was the top of a temple, of a pyramid, right? Of a step pyramid. So usually pyramids in pre-Hispanic Peru were stages for the people that were in the lower sections to admire, to see the ceremonies that were taking place on top. And in this upper part, we have here the resplendescent god that is connected with the sun god. It has rays of light coming out. He has a cup. He has the blood of the men who were sacrificed. We have here the osprey. Is there something very magical about this god? Because this bird can also fly, go to the upper part, to the world of the sun, and also can go into the water. Yes, Penny, it looks Mayan. Is Moche. Moche culture and Maya culture also have a lot of similarities too. Moche or Mochica also, we call this culture. So the osprey goes down into the ocean, the humid world, the female world, and also the upper world, the world of the sun. And we have, this character is very important. This is the moon goddess. The moon goddess is related with the darkness, with the moon. The cycle of the moon and the menstruation of women also connected to, since the old days. She has braids also. Women were the only ones that braided in the pre-Hispanic times. And she's also holding a cup. Maybe you don't see it so well, but over there. And only very important people could hold a cup back then. So this is the whole piece, by the way, just to give you an idea how big the piece is. Not really huge, but amazing. Just 30 centimeters high and 15 centimeters only of this part, by the way, of the body, but all fully decorated. Supreme governors. Yes, at some point women in our Peru reach out this level of supreme governors. The Lady of Cao, for example, is a great example of a wonderful leader that was varied also with the highest honors. This is possibly the way how she looked like when she was alive, because there have been done some reconstruction works also in her skeleton. And you can also notice something really interesting over here. Was it male dominator or did women rule? Penny, archaeologists believe that women rule also sometimes. Like, for example, the Lady of Cao, which is the one you are seeing here, right? So they even reach out levels of being governors. But in percentage, of course, men were the ones that usually rule more than women, right? So here we have a vessel discovered in the tomb of the Lady of Cao from the north of Peru, Mochica culture, that represent possibly the lady as a baby. This is her mother, and this is a priestess that probably is healing her or is like imposing in her special powers. We have here the mummy of Lady of Cao. Really sad story about her because she died giving birth, so far we know, or few time after she gave birth. And how we know this? Well, for the position, the way how the hips were disposed, and also how loose the skin in her abdomen was. So we know that she gave birth, and also how let's say prominent the bosoms were. So, well, really, really sad ending of the Lady of Cao, but also important to notice that women in Peru even were covered with tattoos. Like, for example, Lady of Cao has beautiful ones, which are also associated with her status. For example, we can see butterflies in her tattoos. We can see also snakes in her tattoos, spiders in her tattoos, right? So really, really curious. And finally, I want to talk about the the matriarchies in the pre-Hispanic times, right? And we have a very curious case of the female governors, las capullanas. The Spaniards met capullanas at the time of their arrival to Peru, and they said they were really, really beautiful. These capullanas were the female leaders of a location that nowadays is Piura in the north of Peru. We know that had several husbands. These leaders are the only one in the history of Peru so far we know that were or practiced the polyandria. So they had several husbands that they could dismiss if they wished. And also that even one of the conquistadors was so in love of one of them that decided to stay with her here in Peru, right? So imagine what an interesting story also. The pre-Hispanic men also might have been very different in terms of how they saw women in the pre-Hispanic times. We know also that women escalated very important levels in that time. As you know already from these images that I try to share with you, pre-Hispanic women were equivalently important as men. And that's really fascinating because nowadays women in Latin America especially are subjugated under the men. We have patriarchies here, and all of those patriarchies came with the Spaniards. So thank you so much for your participation, my friends. This is a short event, but I really hope you enjoy it. We're going to have a part 2 also of this event, in which we're going to be talking more about the role, for example, of the common women in Peru, the human sacrifices, also women sacrifices, the wife of the Inca king, the Coya, what was the role of the Coya, and the princesses of the sun. So this was just a starter. I hope that you join also my future events here in this special series that are going to be dedicated to to pre-Hispanic in general history of Peru that is called Tales from the Pre-Hispanic Times. Thank you so much for your participation. Thanks so much for your deep support, Marilyn, Adrian. You are my angels. And well, muchas gracias. Yelena, muchas gracias. Next week, we're bringing it again, also with another part of this event. Muchas gracias, amigas, amigos. See you soon. Best to you all. Bye-bye.